Economic freedom is a fundamental right of every person to control his or her own labor and property. On the other hand, sustainability is everything that we need for our survival and well being, depending either directly or indirectly on our natural environment.
Robert Lawson is a co-author of the Economic Freedom of the World Annual Report. This report provides an economic freedom index for over 140 countries. Lawson defined economic freedom as consisting of free markets, private properties, and personal choice, freedom to trade both within a country and foreign trade, freedom to enter markets, and security of property and the rule of law. He said that there is a role for government in this system to protect property rights and provide basic infrastructure, but the role of government is limited. Measuring economic freedom is complex and multidimensional. Data comes from 141 countries using 42 components that are grounded into 5 broad areas. First, size of government, including expenditure, taxes, and enterprises. Second, legal structure and security of property rights. Third, access to sound money. Fourth, freedom to trade internationally. And fifth, regulation of credit, labor, and business. Ratings are on a scale from 0 to 10, with 10s representing the most freedom. Matt Neff holds that we have 9 basic human needs: subsistence, protection, affection, understanding, leisure, creation, identity, freedom, and participation. Sustainable development is most prominently defined with respect to the needs of current and future generations. It is a relationship between human economic systems and dynamic, but slower ecological system in which A. Human life can develop indefinitely, B. Human individuals can flourish, C. Human culture can develop, and D. Effects of human activities remain within bounds so as not to destroy the diversity, complexity, and functioning of the ecological life support system. Economic freedom is the key to greater opportunity and an improved quality of life. It is the freedom to choose how to produce, sell, and use your own resources while respecting others' rights to do the same. Quite a simple concept. Economic freedom is an engine that drives prosperity in the world and is the difference between why some societies thrive while others do not.
The United States is a highly sustainable country, since its citizens can live without being in danger, under the protection of a national security and the police. It's a country where you can interact with other people and create relationships, where you can be heard and understood. The United States is a country where you can rest, travel, be creative, and own your creations. You can participate in numerous organizations and be able to discover who you really are. But overall, you're free.
Why is economic freedom important?
Economic freedom is the main way wealth is created. Societies that respect economic freedom are generally more prosperous, their citizens enjoy a higher standard of living, and the poor have real opportunities to escape poverty.
Economic freedom is measured by 10 different components, and each of them is assigned a grade using a scale from 0 to 100, where 100 represents the maximum freedom. The 10 economic freedoms are grouped into 4 broad categories of economic freedom. A country's overall economic freedom score is a simple average of its scores on the 10 individual freedoms. First is the rule of law, which includes property rights and freedom from corruption. Second is limited government, containing fiscal freedom and government spending. Third is regulatory efficiency, including business freedom, labor freedom, and monetary freedom. And fourth is open markets, including trade freedom, investment freedom, and financial freedom. According to the calculations made following the guidelines previously stated, the United States scored a 76 in economic freedom. losing ground again in 2013. According to the Index of Economic Freedom, its score is zero point 0.3 points lower than last year, with declines in monetary, business, labor, and fiscal freedom. The United States is ranked second out of three countries in North American region, and its score remains well above the world and regional averages. High levels of economic freedom are a key ingredient in creating prosperity. States with high levels of economic freedom provide families with higher standards of living. Conversely, states and provinces with low levels of economic freedom will see families experience lower standards of living and reduced opportunities. Evidence across the world and within the United States demonstrates that stronger employment growth follows increases in economic freedom. Lower taxes, limited size and scope of government, and flexible labor policies encourage entrepreneurship, stimulate businesses to hire, and improve job opportunity. Workers and investors take notice and move to states with more opportunity, making freer states more prosperous. The United States' gains in economic freedom made over 20 years have been completely erased in just 9. Still dropping, America ranks lower than Canada for the first time ever. Driving this decline is a growing government burden of overspending and unnecessary regulations. During the Bush years, government overspent so much that nearly doubled the US debt. Under President Obama, spending is on its way to double again. Excessive regulations made things worse. The Directory of Federal Regulations has increased in more than 81,000 pages. In the 10,000 Commandments 2012 report, which was released in June, the Competitive Enterprise Institute estimates that the cost of the United States government regulations on businesses is $1.75 trillion, which is enough to hire 43 million workers and a quarter of the U.S. workforce, and it's equal 15% of the U.S. private sector economy. This has consequences. As the growth of federal government spending has sped up, it's caused the growth of private economy to slow down, and as a result, the U.S. is going through the longest streak of high unemployment since the Great Depression.
Most sustainable countries have constrained resources in many ways, but Colombia is not one of them. They are the second most biologically diverse country in the world, with 10% of global total. Managing the sustainability of Colombia should be key priority for the entire planet. Unfortunately, as recently as the early 2000s, Colombia was losing up to 200,000 hectares of natural forest every year. But you can see that part of the reason that Colombia is a sustainable country now is the fact that they rate very highly in the forest area of the Environmental Performance Index. When it comes to the sustainability of the United States and Colombia, Colombia has more sustainability than the United States, but on the contrary, the United States has more economic freedom than Colombia. When comparing economic freedom between the two countries, the United States is considered to be mostly free with a rank of 76 at the 10th place, while Colombia is posted as moderately free with an overall score of 69.6 and ranked at the 37th place of the world's freest countries. Colombia's rule of law are generally respected, but it is very common to have infringement of intellectual properties versus the United States, who has guaranteed property rights. Laws to prevent intellectual theft are vulnerable and have very little impact on society. From 2002 to 2010, President Álvaro Uribe Vélez pursued the democratic security, which significantly reduced crime and violence in the country. The current president, Juan Manuel Santos, has emphasized the integration for a global economy, So much that in October 2011, the US Congress approved the US Colombia Free Trade Agreement. Colombia's economy depends mainly on exports of petroleum, coffee, and cut flowers. In recent years, Colombia positioned as the second largest economy in South America. Even with a high unemployment rate of 10.9% and an inflation rate of 3.4%, Colombia's prospects on economic freedom are very positive.
Cuba is not a highly sustainable country. Let me explain why. Citizens live without being in danger. The National Police Department provides the protection to the people. You can interact with the rest of the persons and create bonds. You can rest if you feel the need to do so, or participate in organizations, but only on a limited amount, and mostly are managed by the government. There is a system that allows you to exclusively own your creations. On the other hand, the government does not understand its citizens and does not answer to their needs. There is little freedom for the residents. They are repressed in many ways. The Heritage Foundation has ranked Cuba 177th in economic freedom, with a score of 28.5, making it one of the least free countries in the world. Its overall score is 0.2 points higher than last year, with a notable decline in monetary freedom, counterbalanced by gains in freedom from corruption and fiscal freedom. Out of the 29 countries in South and Central America and the Caribbean, Cuba is ranked lowest, well below the regional averages, which is 59.4. The scores for most of the areas of economic freedom for Cuba are well below the world averages, and the economy is one of the most repressed. There is an absence of independent and fair judiciary. There are no courts free of political interference, and corruption affects almost all aspects of its economic activity. In other words, all the information about the state of economy of Cuba is being manipulated by an extremely controlling government. Cuba becomes the perfect example to show that high government manipulation of the economy does not give good results. It makes the market inefficient and stop the flow of money. It creates higher risk of corruption, therefore creating a deteriorating economy. According to the information presented on this video, we can conclude that economic freedom is being able to manipulate your business in any way you want, to buy or sell, and use your resources in whichever way you think might be beneficial, but respecting the right of other businesses to do the same. It encourages prosperity, leads to greater opportunities, higher quality of life, and other positive outcomes. It releases people from dependence on government and permits them to make their own economic and political decisions. Across the world, we see a positive relationship between economic freedom and quality of life.